Now, those who push for deregulation tell us environmental rules are job killers, nothing but a burden on businesses and consumers. They're wrong. Regulations that are well-designed are, to borrow a phrase from Republican friends, job creators. They can spur innovation, create new products, new jobs, even whole new industries. A study published by the Political Economy Research Institute at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, estimates that new air pollution rules for electric power plants, quote, will provide long-term economic benefits across much of the United States in the form of highly skilled, well-paid jobs through infrastructure investment. Specifically, researchers found that clean air investments could create 1.5 million jobs, new jobs, in 2015 right here at home. Mr. President, let me tell you, bring this story closer to home. Just recently, I made a trip in Illinois to a new coal-fired plant. It's a plant that is amazing. It's called the Prairie State Energy Campus, and it's owned by a number of electric cooperatives. It has $1 billion investment in the clean use of coal to produce electricity. They took a look at the law, and instead of hiring lawyers to fight it, they hired engineers to comply with it. And the plant is up and running. It is a marvel to behold. And right across from this plant is a coal mine. And the coal that is drawn from that mine goes into this plant and meets all the specifications required today by the EPA. The people who are running this plant are not whining and crying and begging for relief. They rolled up their sleeves and built a plant much cleaner than anything that exists in the United States, and they are proving it can be profitable. I wish my Republican friends would come to the Prairie State Energy Campus. They should see and know that 4,000 union jobs were created for the construction of this plant. And they expect to have 500 permanent local jobs to boost the Illinois economy by $785 million a year with our own local coal. The campus includes 2 generators that will produce 1,600 megawatts of clean, low-cost energy for more than 2.5 million customers in the Midwest. It's going to go online by the end of this year. By using the latest technology, carbon dioxide emissions will be 15% lower than what is typically discharged. In addition, the plant's going to save an estimated 200,000 tons of carbon dioxide each year by using coal from an adjacent mine instead of mining it in some other place and shipping it to the site of the power generation. 160 coal miners are working in the adjacent mine. I went there. It's not my first visit to a coal mine, but it's always an eye-opener to go in there and see how they mine coal today. 2 weeks ago, Prairie State announced plans to hire even more miners. In Illinois, incidentally, coal miners make a pretty decent wage, $65,000 a year. So these are good jobs right here in America, mining coal to be used in a clean coal plant. It can be done. The Republicans ought to acknowledge it can be done, and new jobs are being created in the process while we're reducing air pollution. Mr. President, in a recent survey, 2 out of 3 Americans said they support new clean air rules and oppose what the Republicans are trying to do in the name of job creation. Nearly 90% of all Americans, nearly 60% of Republicans and conservatives, I might add, said Congress should not prevent the EPA from enforcing the new rules. I wish that my Republican friends, who were so dead set on eliminating these standards for air and water pollution, would listen to the people across America who want cleaner air and pure drinking water and are willing to see reasonable regulation to reach those goals. The push to kill new clean air rules isn't just coming from the American people. It's part of a huge power grab. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Republicans in Congress have launched an unprecedented anti-regulation campaign. The Chamber is reportedly spending millions of dollars to push the message that regulations are job killers. Their goal is to roll back existing environmental, health, financial, and other regulatory protection, and to block any new protection. They are using the American job crisis to try to push through an agenda that will increase our deficit, actually take away jobs in America, and cause thousands of Americans to get sick and some to die. Just to cut taxes on millionaires and billionaires and get rid of government regulation, and they believe we can get the economy humming again. That's their credo. Madam President, if that were true, the last administration would have been the most prosperous in our history, because that is the message and philosophy and agenda that guided the Bush administration. Instead, in the words of the Wall Street Journal, not exactly a Democratic publication, George W. Bush's administration produced the worst jobs record on record. We've tried this. It doesn't work. We've seen this movie. We know how it ends. This notion of protecting millionaires from any taxes and repealing any laws related to the regulation of our economy just didn't work under the Bush administration and shouldn't be tried again. Madam President, the reason 2 million Americans are out of work has nothing to do with excessive financial or environmental regulation. If anything, our economy is hurting because we don't have the appropriate regulation in place now to avoid the excesses of the past. To say that we can't create jobs without creating dangerous levels of toxic chemicals in our air and water is an absolutely false choice. We've got to find an approach that protects the health of American families and balances the needs of business and is based on the reality of science. For 40 years, Democrats and Republicans used to work together on this agenda. We need to do it again. In the meantime, if our Republican colleagues want to create good middle-class jobs here at home, let's pass the President's American Jobs Act. This will not only create jobs, it'll fund infrastructure and road repairs. It'll cut payroll taxes for working families, saving the average family about $1,500 a year, and extend badly needed unemployment benefits to those out of work. It keeps hundreds of thousands of teachers in the classroom and cops and firefighters on the job in our neighborhoods and communities. That's the way to create good jobs. America doesn't need dirty water and dirty air to create good-paying jobs. I hope the Republican agenda, even if it's laminated on a card passed out by Speaker John Boehner, will realize that we can do better in this country by not compromising our public health and the great nation that we live in.